On Landline today, from growing citrus to medicinal cannabis, we visit one of the country's biggest outdoor cannabis crops.
The plants that we're standing next to here, I think, went in on about 21st of December. They're a very aggressive growing plant. They're fed ripe.
In South Australia's Riverland, citrus trees have been removed to make way for the planting of one of Australia's biggest outdoor cannabis crops. With more than 1 million Australians using medicinal cannabis since it was legalised, we have one of the fastest growing markets in the world, but not many producers. Renmark reporter Eliza Burlage met one, and his backstory prompted the move from citrus to cannabis.
These workers are harvesting medicinal cannabis at one of the very few outdoor growing sites in Australia. Once harvested, the sun-grown crop is dried indoors before it's ready for processing. This is Medtech Farmers' secure facility in South Australia's Riverland region, one of the country's biggest cannabis farms.
A lot of actually THC is actually growing in the market a lot more and being a lot more accepted, which is...
Managing Director Brad Gallard says it's taken 5 years to get here and he's yet to make a cent.
Even though the plant does grow fast, it's been a long journey to get to this point. But exciting now, we're pulling down and we're going all down into the clean rooms and preparing the product, ready to be packed to go out to pharmacies. So we're certainly we're excited about this point in time. Now these will be 8 weeks in flower. High THC strain.
The third-generation citrus grower is convinced his foray into medicinal cannabis will pay off. Less than 6 months ago, this facility was just a patch of soil after citrus trees were cleared.
Plants that we're standing next to here, I think, went in on about 21st of December. They're a very aggressive growing plant. They're fed ripe. We are all organic here too. We're feeding them a lot with organic pretty much every day. You know, obviously the sunlight here, the heat, you keep the water up. They also love the heat, but if you want to keep the water up. We were chasing our tail a little bit. We didn't have irrigation in here in November, so it was game on since we got our licence and approvals, in September.
The region is better known for citrus and wine grapes. But with the wine industry in crisis due to an oversupply, it's seen as vital that new industries like this develop to provide new opportunities for the area to diversify.
Smells good too.
Serena Lange hadn't even graduated university when she was chosen for a role with Medtech.
Was it ever a job you thought about doing growing up?
Absolutely not, but it's very exciting. There's so much learning to be done. It's a constant learning journey, and we're forever experiencing new parts of the process and improving our practices on site.
The agribusiness graduate is one of about 30 staff employed at the operation. Site manager Derek Fitzner is also new to the world of cannabis cultivation, but has worked with Brad before at a juice company.
I was involved with Brad in a beverage startup project, so we've got a working history.
Derek says as the site grows, it will offer more job opportunities.
Somewhere between the 50 and the 100 people is something that has the potential, and that's across the entire business, not just in cultivation, but across all aspects of the business.
So far, 3 hectares of medicinal cannabis have been planted here in South Australia's Riverland. But there's plans to expand that to 10 hectares to grow more of this in-demand crop for harvest next year.
For Brad, the decision to push ahead with a multi-million-dollar investment in a new crop is personal.
My parents got a bit ill from my father's Parkinson's disease. My mum had scleroderma and ulcers, and tried a bit of the product, just after it was sort of legal, and saw a reasonable result for at least a few days. So I thought I'd better look into it.
The latest figures from the Therapeutic Goods Association show about 1.2 million Australians have accessed medicinal cannabis since it was legalised in 2016.
seeing the results of people and how they get through and how it helps them, there's no doubt that there is a big uptake going on with medicinal cannabis in Australia, especially at the moment.
MedTech Pharma is not only growing cannabis outdoors. The company also has indoor grow rooms and plans to build a lab to develop new strains to grow from seed to shelf. The mother room is where the team nurtures the female cannabis plants, which cuttings and clones are taken from.
So Derek, these plants are so green and bright and leafy. What's the thermostat read like?
So at the moment, we're feeling it, and what people often say is what we feel in temperature is what the plants also feel. So if it's too hot for us, it's too hot for them, too cold for us, too cold for them. At the moment, as we stand here, it's a perfect 24 degrees at about 80% humidity. They're looking nice and green because they've obviously got a really nice balance of all of those elements, as well as a nutrient and irrigation regime going on.
The majority of the more than 24 varieties of cannabis plants grown here have THC cannabinoids, the psychoactive compound which can be smoked as a flower or ingested as an edible. CBD, more commonly used for oils and tinctures, does not create a high feeling for users.
They are both relevant to the medicinal space. In simple terms, there are particular CBD strains, for example, that are very centred on sleep and epilepsy, for example. But across both CBD and THC, there are specific strains and varieties that people have a preference for with their pain management, with their anxiety, with their sleep issues.
We've got several different strains in here. How important is your record keeping and your monitoring?
Yeah, traceability is huge throughout the entire production process, right from the genetic stock with the mother plants here in the mother room through to production purposes and then eventually harvesting as well. We record keep the entire process.
And do you grow in here from seed?
Yes, we have some seedlings growing in here, yes, and then eventually they get to an age where we can take clones from the plants.
But it's clear licensing and security to grow a pharmaceutical-grade cannabis product can be a lengthy process.
There's a lot of commitment and a lot of years of wait. Obviously, you're dealing with the Office of Drug Control and it's a narcotic drug, so you have to be, very tight security and obviously then to ramp up and get going and to understand everything that the industry needs as well to supply this pharmaceutical drug.
Australia has one of the fastest growing medicinal cannabis markets in the world, but only about 50 licensed growers. Research scientist and industry advocate Emily Rigby launched the Australian Cannabis Cultivators Group last year to help producers grow the domestic supply.
I think there's a huge potential for us around Australia, and because we're able to provide jobs, I really think we do need to see the government get a little bit more behind the Australian industry to help this emerging industry while we are learning and while we've got competition from imports. But I think Australia's got a really great position if it's done in a clever way with efficient production methods.
Once more Australian cultivators bring it online, the price will come back, which is great, and people will become more efficient at growing the product. And once the volumes come out there and the doctors are able to learn how to prescribe it, and the uptake will be better. It's still on a very, very fast growth.
For Brad, starting up a seed-to-shelf plant medicine company from scratch is just the latest venture for the risk-taking former citrus grower. He's also raced regularly and won the iconic Fink Desert Race near Alice Springs.
What was scarier, driving in the Fink Desert Race or starting a new crop like this in the time frame you've got?
Probably a bit of both actually, so maybe a bit nervous on a few things on both, but certainly this has been a lot of our life, really engulfed us. But it's been exciting and it's been a great journey, and we're looking forward to the things to come.